get past that stage. So we show him the test results, and he is just saying "bushing," like not okay. And at this point, I'm starting to think, well, what do you mean it's not okay? Because that's the rule. That's what you need to do. You need to have a 48-hour test result, and then you can travel freely throughout the country, so long as you've got a green travel code and health code. But he wasn't allowing us to come in. He was essentially saying that the only way we were allowed to go in is if we were prepared to do 3 weeks quarantine at the hotel we were staying at. Otherwise, we had to get on the next train or the next flight out of Zhangjiajie and leave. So at this point, you can imagine we were getting somewhat frustrated because we have everything we need to be able to get in. However, we're not allowed in. Now, I have somewhat limited Chinese. I was asking him to get other people involved and to get their opinions. And, no one wanted to go against what he was saying. So I had my girlfriend on the phone, and Jordan had a Chinese friend on the phone, and they were helping us as much as they could. But they just were not allowing us to enter the city. At this point, it was about an hour after we'd arrived, and we were still having trouble. And then all of a sudden, I noticed there's a lot of Chinese people coming to queue behind us to also register manually. And the only reason they would have to do that is if they had come from a city where there were also COVID cases, so that they had to have their travel code and health code observed manually by the security at the station. So I was eavesdropping into these people's conversations who were being allowed in. And it turns out that train had also come straight from Shenzhen, which is the same city as we had come from just a few days before. However, we were not being allowed in. At this point, obviously, you can imagine I was getting quite frustrated, but I was trying my best to keep my cool. So I asked them again. I said, this train has just come in from Shenzhen, but I've seen you are allowing them in with a 48-hour test result. Why is that? And the guy lied straight to my face, and he said, no, they're not coming from Shenzhen. They're all locals, and they're coming back, and they're going to do quarantine at home. And that's when, at that point, I really struggled to keep my patience, because I actually went to some of the people in the line and asked them personally, where have you come from and why are you here? And 2 or 3 people said, we've come from Shenzhen and we're here to travel, which was just the same as us. But the guy at the train station, as well as all the other people, because at this point there were quite a lot of people involved, they were all telling me that they were locals and they were coming back to quarantine at the hotel or at home for 2 weeks. So it was blatant lie straight to my face. At this point, it was getting on towards about 11 p.m. and it was becoming very apparent to us that the only reason we were not being allowed in was because we're foreigners. We had all the credentials we needed, just the same as everybody else coming from Shenzhen, yet we were the only people who were not allowed past the security gate. On top of this, it was extremely cold and we were being made to wait outside this whole time. It was about 2 degrees outside and I was wearing everything possible. It was raining. It was quite a miserable time. And they were essentially telling us to get the next train or flight home. And I was looking on the app because at this point I thought we're gonna have to leave. And there were no trains or flights out of the city at that time. It was the latest one. So I showed them, and from what I could tell, it seemed that they were literally prepared to let us sleep on the street. But after, a bit of debate, let's say, they eventually said, right, you can stay at a hotel just for tonight. However, you need to get another COVID test before you go to that hotel, and then you need to leave first thing in the morning. So that was basically what they told us. Now, I never ever want to be the guy to use my image, being that I have a online following, to get me access to things that I wouldn't usually get access to. But this was a particular case where I told my girlfriend on the phone to explain to them what I do, and that I was here to make videos around Zhangjiajie. And literally I was there to showcase their city